here today to test out some of the new blade and tails rods from the Wilson's stable. They make a very nice rod these days and they are renowned for being tough. And we thought, well, what better species to test out the tough against the tough, the Longtail Tuna. There's a fair few blooping around us here now. They're sometimes a bit shy. We're going to put ourselves to the test and these rods to the test. See what we can do against the Longtails. Look at him. Actually see him. Oh, yep.
Nice.
Saw him eat it too. Big barrel came out. Yeah, you got to catch one there. There you go. Get away. Go, dude. Oh, look at him. They're just staying there as well. Coming under you. Oh, thanks for that. Just take a big right wind to the left temple. Using a Wilson blade and tail heavy stick for this. It's just perfectly weighted for casting to these longtails. Nice light componentry, plenty of strength in it. Nice soft tip to hide those head shakes so we don't throw hooks free. Plenty of grunt in them. You can really get stuck into fish on these. I was talking to Cord that designs these rods and I said, look, what's changed in the last 5 to 10 years? And he mentioned to me at one stage that because our reel design is getting so much better, it allows him to be able to do so much more with his rod design. He can just build so much more power into his rods because he knows the reels can handle a whole lot more grease than they used to be able to. Oh yeah, here we go. See colour over there, Adrian?
Yep.
Oh, aren't they a nice fish? Look at this. The powerhouses, these things, they're made for speed. It's like hooking up to heat-seeking missiles. There you go, like absolute freight trains. They're made for speed. And they're dogged, they just don't give up. So if you want to test your tackle, bring it out on the longtails. A whole lot of fun. They're a tricky fish to catch some days. They can be really shy. I guess that's a challenge in catching them. Just trying to work out how to catch them on any given day because they change their mood every day, these things, I reckon. What we're trying to do with these is get way ahead of these fish. They are feeding into the wind, but they're still quite shy. Anytime we got too close to them with the boat, the schools went down and they're hard to find again, but we got far enough ahead of them, sat upwind of them, turned all the engines off, and just sat waiting for them to come to us. As soon as they were within cast range, we're casting little 5-inch soft plastics at them and just twitching them through the school. It's probably a tiny bit too big because we've seen a lot of the bait fish that they're feeding on, but it's obviously just close enough for them to think I'll have that for dinner. This guy thought he was having this for dinner. He got a little bit of a surprise because there's a bit of a sharp bit in it that's still holding on. If you do want to come out and test yourself out spin-wise on these longtails, or a lot of offshore species for that matter, it's nice having a rod with a little bit of butt length in it. These guys got really nice short cork grips, so they're really light. There's lots of sensitivity in them, but the butt's long enough that I can stick it under my armpit just to give me that extra leverage so it doesn't wear me out in a fight like this one. Then you'll notice the rest of the componentry. Single foot guides, it's all nice and light. These rods weigh next to nothing, but they pack plenty of punch, which means you can chase some big speedsters in them and you're not going to tire yourself out in a fairly standard day's fishing. One thing you do want to be careful of, particularly fighting longtails, is not to high stick rods. By that I mean lift it up, lift the base of it vertical when the fish is sitting underneath you. These graphite rods got a bit of a critical braking curve that many of us have found out the hard way. And if you exceed it, by that I mean the rod that the bottom is vertical and the tip's trying to go straight the opposite direction. They tend to go to snapper and it all ends in tears. little trick. You can get into a trap with longtails if they can get under the boat. They just like to stay there. If you do find you're dogging it out for too long with them straight down, get on the petrol and just drive it out a little bit. Get a bit more line angle on the rod and you'll tend to find it pushes them up to surface. They're heaps easier to wear out when they're up close to surface and if they're sitting on your boat just using their whole body against you. Well done. There's one of the speedsters of the oceans. They're incredibly heavy for their size, which just makes them hard to wind in, but they're also deceptive. You see the size of the fish in the water. He's not an animal by longtail standards. They get a lot bigger than this, but they all make you puff. They fight hard and they test out your gear, which is exactly what we're doing here today, testing out some nice spin rods from Wilson's. Number 1 to Wilson's, 0 to the tuna. Get this guy back to join his mates. See ya. Beautiful. He's going to have another crack. It's probably about Adrian's turn, I reckon. He's missed a few. He's feeling it at the moment. Adrian's cast next.
Blank construction on the blade and tails is the secret behind them. I mean, really, a lot of people can build rods and fit them out the same and look at each other's, but to get the blank right, that's our specialty. A lot of blanks in the market have a percentage of fiberglass in them, even though if they're marketed full carbon, they have a scrim on the back of them that's fiberglass. Not in blade and tails, the scrim is actually made out of carbon, and that's the secret to them. The components used on the blade and tails rods are specially made to suit each different type of rod. You'll notice that as the rod gets heavier, the rear grip gets actually longer and the foregrip gets a little bit bigger and a little bit fatter because we're working heavier lures, so we want to counterbalance the weight on the end of the rod with how much distance we've got behind the reel, and that works to make it very easy to put the action in the lure. You'll see the reel seats get bigger, and you'll also see that the guides get slightly larger. Also, full Fuji fit out on all the blade and tails, and all blade and tails rods have single foot guides all the way through. Little ones at the tip for control, and the bigger ones as the stripper guide so that we can cast further.
Oh, yes!
Just got to put one on the nose. There. Oh, yep, on. Oh yeah. Longtail time. Oh yeah. Oh, smoking. How fast do these things go? Oh. And back to me. Come as fast to you as they go away. Sometimes you'll be really ready to wind fast when they turn around and come back. Geez, heaps of rod angle on tuna. You can get them to change their direction if you want, because they're so fast that sometimes all you got in your favour is to have a good drag and then use your rod to steer them around, particularly if you can't move too fast to chase them. You can run out of line on some good fish, but if you're good at learning to steer them, you can sort of keep them within the circle of your line range, and they do respond to sideway pressure. I think nearly any fish will. If it's just constant pressure, they'll eventually turn to it, and what you can do is if they're running too far that way, sideways angle, and you bring them back towards you and you gain line, and same thing, they go that way, you bring them back the other way. What you're doing is you're keeping line on the reel and you're wearing the fish out. As I'm getting worn out pretty fast. You'll get one here. He hasn't woken up, time to go. To get these fish to bite today, we've been using 1/2 ounce to 5/8 ounce jig heads and 5 inch length soft plastics. Our reels have been loaded with 30-pound braid. We're fishing a 40-pound leader just to help us knock these fish over a little bit quicker. A nice visual braid that helps you see where the fish are in the water. Certainly helps when you've got two anglers fishing, and on top of that, we've got about a 2.5 metre leader. Keep in mind too, if the fish get shy sometimes, you can sometimes lengthen those leaders a little bit. It does help occasionally get those bites from longtails when they're a bit fussy. All in all, the gear's pretty simple, and the fishing's hectic. And I'm worn out. Here you go, Adrian, this one's ready to go. These have been awesome. Righto, there you go then, mate. You gotta make me tail another one of my own fish.
Well, if I can do mine, I'm sure you can do yours. As you can see from these, they're made for speed. They're a torpedo underwater. They pull their pectoral fins back and off they go. They are just an absolute machine.
Fantastic. A couple of
Oh, settle down, Tiger.
northern bluefin tuna, also known as longtails. Made a whole lot of fun. Virtually sight fishing them, getting ahead of them, chucking soft plastics in, light spin gear, or relative medium to heavyweight spin gear, and speedsters of the ocean. It's a good day to be out on the water. Let's get him back in, eh?
Let's get them back in. And
I was going to say it's going to chase some more, but
no,
I'm getting worn out.
Well, there's one thing that I really think we need to remember about these rods, and what stands them apart too, is they're Aussie built. They're built here in Brisbane and Queensland, built to our conditions and designed by all the people who have input and all the people who catch our species, not ones from far out places and elsewhere. These are our rods for our conditions.
It's Bill Klassen here from The Fishing Show, and if you like this instructional video and want to learn more, it's simple. Go to fishingshowtv.com.au and see a whole host of additional videos.